We live on a planet called Earth. That is a part of our solar system. But where is our solar system? It's a small part of the Milky Way galaxy. What is a galaxy? A galaxy is a huge collection of gas, dust, and billions of stars and their solar systems all held together by gravity. When you look up at stars in the night sky, you're seeing other stars in the Milky Way. If it's really dark, far away from lights, from cities and houses, you can even see the dusty bands of the Milky Way stretch across the sky. There are many galaxies besides ours, though. There are so many we can't even count them all yet. Some scientists think that there could be as many as 100 billion galaxies in the universe. Children, I would ask you a few questions. How do we launch things into space? What do we need if we want to reach a planet? Who are those people who make these explorations possible? Can you name a few people who make these space explorations possible? Children, we have seen the wonderful achievements of astronauts like Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams. But have you thought of the hundreds of scientists and support staff who make these space explorations possible? The lesson which we are going to learn today is a text which gives us a revealing insight into the work of three Indian space scientists. So let us begin with the lesson, page number 55. The first woman scientist is Ritu Karidal. She is an Indian scientist. The first woman scientist is Ritu Karidal. She is an Indian scientist working with the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. She was a Deputy Operations Director to India's Mars Orbital Mission, Mangalyaan. She was born and brought up in the northern city of Lucknow. She grew up in a middle-class family. So I am reading to the page number 55 now. Ritu Karidal, Deputy Operations Director, Mars Orbital Mission, ISRO. As a little girl growing up in the northern city of Lucknow, Ritu Karidal was a avid sky watcher who, she says, used to wonder about the size of the moon, why it increases. I wanted to know what lay behind the dark spaces. So here in this paragraph, we come to know that as a child, her interest was in the space sciences. She used to gaze at the night sky for hours and thinking about outer space, she wondered about the moon, as to how it changes its shape and size, studied the stars and wanted to know what lay behind the dark space. In her teens, she started collecting news about any space-related activity and kept track of the activities of ISRO and NASA, that is the space agency. She was a student of science who loved physics and maths. She scoured the daily newspapers for information about NASA and ISRO projects, collected news clippings, and read every little detail about anything related to space science. After getting her postgraduate degree, she applied for a job at ISRO, and that's how she became a space scientist. She says this. So, her education, she completed her BSc in physics from the University of Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. She also completed her MSc in physics, joined the IISc in Bangalore, that is Indian Institute of Science, University for Higher Education and Research in Science, Engineering, Design and Management. She joined the IISc Bangalore to pursue Masters in Aerospace Engineering. So here we see that her interest lay in physics and maths. And the information which is given in this paragraph about her tells us that she was a student of physics and maths who loved physics and maths and was also interested a lot about space. so used to always look about for information which she used to get in the newspaper about any space related activity, and she always kept a track of the activities of ISRO and NASA, that is the space agency. The second last paragraph of page number 55. It has now been 18 years and Mrs. Karidhal has worked on several projects at ISRO, including the prestigious Mars mission, which thrust her and her colleagues into the limelight. The mission began in April 2012 and the scientists had only 18 months to complete the project. It was a very small window, so the big challenge was to realize the project in that time. We had no heritage of interplanetary missions, so we had a lot to do in that short period, she says. So the summary here goes of the paragraph. After completing her postgraduate degree, she applied for a job at ISRO. She has worked for ISRO since 1997, that is 18 years. She has played a key role in the development of India's Mars orbiter mission, that is Mangalyaan. She dealt with the execution of the craft on onward autonomy system. She was also the deputy operations director of this mission. So here we see in this paragraph, she has worked on several projects including the prestigious Mars mission, which thrust her and her colleagues into limelight, because of which they became popular. The mission began in April 2012 and the scientists had only a very short period of time to complete the mission, that is 18 months. And it was a very small opportunity. That is what the big challenge for them was, to complete the project in a very short period of time. And they were having no experience of any interplanetary missions. So they had a lot to do in a short period of time. The next paragraph. Although women scientists were part of the mission from its conception, Mrs. Karidhal says its success was due to team effort. So women from the initial part, from the starting, were a part of this mission. So the success goes to team effort. Mangalyaan was one of the greatest achievements of ISRO. It made India the fourth country in the world to reach Mars. It was done in just 18 months of time frame. This success was due to team effort and they worked on weekends too. The team would sit with the engineers and everyone would help each other to solve a problem or make a decision by thinking many ideas irrespective of the time it took. They worked on weekends too. A mother of 2 young children, Mrs. Karidhal says, it was not easy to maintain a work-life balance, but I got the support I needed from my family, my husband and my siblings. The Mars mission was an achievement, but we need to do a lot more. The country needs a lot more from us so that the benefit reaches the last person. So, Ritu Karidhal has 2 children. She is a mother of 2 young children. It was not easy to maintain balance between work and life. That is, work and other life roles. Work-life balance between professional, personal life, family life. But she got the support she needed from her husband and her children and her family. India needs more scientists for its rapid development to continue, she says. The country needs a lot more from the scientists so that the benefit reaches the last person. What information does this text give us about the Indian space scientist Ritu Karidhal? As a little girl, she grew in the northern Indian city of Lucknow. She used to watch the night sky, thinking about the moon, the size of the moon. Why does the size of the moon increase and decrease? And she wanted to know what lay behind the dark spaces. She was a student of science who loved physics and maths and was always interested to collect information and newspaper clippings so that she would get every little detail about anything related to space science. She completed her post-graduation So what do you mean by a postgraduate? It is done after you get your graduation degree. That is, post-graduation is a master's degree. You get it after you complete your bachelor's degree. So after getting her postgraduate degree, she applied for a job at ISRO. And then she became a space scientist. Since 18 years, she's worked in ISRO. She has worked in different projects, including the prestigious Mars mission, because of which she and her colleagues became famous. The mission began in April 2012 and they had a very short period of time to complete the project. It was a very small opportunity and they had no previous experiences about interplanetary missions. So within the short period of time, they had a lot to do. So women scientists were also a part of this mission from the conception, from the very beginning. Ritu Karidar says that its success was due to team effort. Everybody helped each other and they also worked on weekends. She is a mother of 2 children and it's not easy to maintain a work as well as life balance. That is, you're working somewhere and then you have to balance your personal life, family life. It's quite difficult, she says. But she got the support she needed from her family. And the Mars mission was a very great achievement for her. But the country needs a lot more from the scientists as we have to develop further so that the benefit reaches everybody. Page number 56. The next rocket scientist is Nandini Harinath. She is the Deputy Operations Director, Mars Orbiter Mission ISRO. Nandini Harinath's first exposure to science was Star Trek on television. At the time, she never thought of becoming a space scientist. For her, ISRO just happened. So here, Nandini Harinath's first exposure, that is first experience, which she was interested in to watch, was a television program which the family was so fond of, that show which they would sit together and watch it on TV. She is a rocket scientist at ISRO Satellite Center in Bengaluru. She is a part of the Mars Orbiter Mission 2, that is Mangalyaan. So here in this paragraph, she never thought of becoming a scientist. She applied for a job, she got through, she passed it, and it's been 20 years she is working in ISRO and there is no looking back. Next page, page number 57. Being part of the Mars mission was the high point of her life. It was very important for India, not just for ISRO. It's put us on a different pedestal. Foreign countries are looking to us for collaboration, and the importance and attention we got was therefore justified. It was also the first time ISRO allowed the public to look at what was happening inside. We were on social media, we had our own Facebook page, and the world took notice. So here she says that being a part of this project was a very important achievement in her life, because of which they became famous. It is not an important thing just for India, but also for ISRO, because the foreign countries are looking for collaboration, for the merging, working together with India. And the importance and attention they got was therefore justified. It was also the first time ISRO allowed the public to look what was happening inside. They had their own Facebook page, the photos were published on the in the newspapers, and they had become famous. So the world came to know about their achievements and they took notice of what they were doing. And here she also says she takes immense pride that she is a part of the Mangalyaan project. And she feels really excited and happy to see the photograph on the new 2000 rupee note. But it was not an easy assignment and the working days were long. In the beginning, the scientists worked 10 hours a day. But as the launch date came closer, it went up to 12 to 14 hours. So they spent, the scientists had to work for 10 hours. Later, when the launch date came closer, they had to spend more time, that is 12 to 14 hours. So the working days were long. During the launch, I don't think we went home at all. We'd come in the morning, spend the day and the night, perhaps go home for a short while the next afternoon to eat and sleep for a few hours and come back. So here she says during the launch time, they don't even remember that they had time to spend at home. So they would come in the morning, spend the day and the night, the day and the night, and in between that that is in the afternoon, they went home. Nandini Harinath was influenced by a Star Trek program on television, and that was her first exposure to become a space scientist. Earlier, she had never thought of becoming a space scientist. She applied for a job and then passed, got through it, and since 20 years, she is working at ISRO. It is very important for her, as well as India and ISRO, to complete the Mars project, because of which we became famous. It's put them all on a different higher level, and even foreign countries are looking to merge up with India to work together with us. The importance and attention the team got was satisfactory. It was also for the first time ISRO allowed the public to look into what was happening inside. They were on social media, the staff, the people, the scientists, etc. were on social media, became public. They had their own Facebook page, and the world took notice of their achievements. Mrs. Harinath feels great pleasure in Mangalyaan and is really very happy, excited to see its photograph on the rupee 2000 note. But she says it was not an easy assignment. The working days were long. Earlier they worked for about 10 hours a day, but as the launch date came nearer, they worked up to 12 to 14 hours. They used to go in the morning, spend the day and the night, and for a very short period of time, the next afternoon they went home to eat and sleep for a few hours and then return back for work. But for an important mission like Mangalyaan, which was time bounded, which means a very short period of time to complete the project, they needed to work like that is continuously spending more time for work than at home. They also spent many sleepless nights. They also encountered lots of problems as they progressed in the mission. The problems which were faced by them were in design as well as in the mission. But it was coming up with quick solutions and innovations, which was the key to solve the problems that they encountered during the mission. The next paragraph. To make matters worse, Mrs. Harinath's daughter's crucial school leaving exams fell right in the middle of the mission. Those few months were very demanding at work and at home. So here she's having a lot of work to do about the mission, plus her daughter's school leaving, that is 10th standard exams, are also on the same time, and now she has to spend and give time to her family, that is the child who is appearing for a 10th standard exam as well as the mission. So she had to balance work and home. That's what she says. They were very demanding. That is, she had to have a lot of patience, effort, and to do and balance the work of her at home. As her daughter's exams were right in the middle of the mission, the date was in the middle of the mission, her exams were also there, and she also had to give her time for work, that is completion of the mission, because it's time bound. So here, these few months, she had a lot of work to do and balance work as well as home. It looked like turn your page to page number 58. It looked like a race at the time. So here is, we have to finish something very quickly, as she had a very limited time to do that. So that is race at the time. She would wake up at 4 a.m. with her daughter to give her company while she studied. But now we look back on that time with fondness. So she says she used to wake up with her daughter in the morning at 4 a.m. so that she could give her company when she studied. And now she remembers that time with a great liking. She did extremely well in her exams, scoring 100 in maths. So her daughter did quite well. She scored 100 in maths. Today she is in medical school and is doing really well. So I think it was all worth the effort. So whatever effort the mother and the child has put together, it is worth it. She has got good marks and scored 100 in maths. And she is doing her medical sciences now. Nandini Harinath says, the Mars mission was a huge achievement, but that's the past. So Mars mission is already over and it's already completed. So it's past now. We need to look into the future to see what more we can do. We have the entire cosmic neighborhood waiting to be explored. There are so many planets, so it's time to venture out. So she says there's a lot to be still yet discovered. The entire cosmic neighborhood is waiting to be explored, which means cosmic here is relating to the universe. So still there's a lot to be explored in the universe. There are so many planets, so it's time to venture out. There are so many planets in the universe which are yet needed to be explored. As there are many planets, galaxies in the universe, it has to be explored. Still many planets and many things in the universe have to be explored. So there are so many planets, so it's now the time to venture out, to proceed bravely to explore the universe. Your venture, which means project or an activity. So in the last paragraph, she says there is a lot to be explored in the universe, and the neighborhood, that is the universe, is waiting for us to be explored. There are many planets, so it's time to take up this activity or a project to proceed bravely to explore our neighborhood, that is the universe. So now we learned about Nandini Harinath, who is a rocket scientist at ISRO Satellite Center in Bengaluru. She is a part of the Mars Orbiter mission, Mangalyaan, and her first exposure, her first influence, she was influenced by a TV serial called Star Trek. And the family was so fond of the show that they would sit together and watch it on TV. For her, ISRO just happened. She applied for a job, got through it, and since 20 years she is working. She is very happy and proud to be a part of the Mars mission, and it's important for everyone that because it's put us on a different level, that is a pedestal, which is a higher level. And even foreign countries are looking for collaboration with India, that is working together with India. And whatever importance and attention the scientists got was satisfactory. It was also the first time that allowed public to take into or to look into what was happening inside. And they were also on social media. They had their own Facebook page and they became famous. The world took notice of what was happening and their achievements too. Mrs. Harinath also takes immense pleasure as she is a part of the Mangalyaan project. She is really happy, excited to see the photograph of Mangalyaan on the rupee 2000 note. She also says that it was not easy assignment because the working hours were long, earlier 10, then increased to 12 to 14 hours, spent very little time at home, only spent time in the afternoons, went home to sleep for a few hours and then return back after eating and sleeping. So as this project was an important one, an important mission, it was time bound, a very short period of time. They had to complete the project. So that is why they had to work very hard for it, and they needed to work like that, spending more time and giving more time for the project. They also spent many sleepless nights. They encountered lots of problems as they were progressing towards or in the project. As they progressed in the project, in the design as well as in the mission, but they came up with quick solutions and innovations, and that was the key that they were solving the problems that they encountered during the Mars mission. And also one more problem she faced here is her daughter's school leaving exams were also at the same time when she was doing the Mars project, and those few months were quite, crucial and needed a lot of skill and patience and effort too. She had to give time to her child as well as the project. It looked as if it was like a race. And here is race at the time, which means she had to spend her time, give her time to family as well as work. Within a very short limited period of time, she had to do that very quickly. So finish something very quickly is also called as race at the time. She used to wake up with her daughter at 4 o'clock to give her company when she studied. And now she remembers that time with great liking. She recalls those days with fondness. That is her daughter, did very well in her exams, and she also scored 100 in maths. And she is a medical student now. She's doing really well, and that was all the effort and work which they put in, because of which it was worth doing. She says the Mars mission was a huge achievement, but it's already gone, it's past. So now we have to think about the future, so that what can we do more about the future, to see what more we can do about it. Still there's a lot to be explored. The neighborhood is waiting for us to be explored. The cosmic neighborhood that is relating to the universe is waiting for us to be explored. There are many planets in the universe. So it's time to explore the planets, to explore the universe. And venture, I told you the meaning is to, proceed bravely, to take up a project or an activity bravely. Here is to explore the universe. The next woman scientist is Anuradha TK, Geosat Program Director at ISRO Satellite Center. For this most senior woman officer at ISRO, the sky is the limit. Ms. Anuradha specializes in sending communication satellites into space that sit at least 36,000 kilometers from the center of the Earth. So Anuradha TK is a senior most female Indian scientist. She is a retired Indian scientist who was the project director of the Indian Space Research Organization, specialized in communication of satellites. She specializes in sending communication satellites that go into space and sit at least 36,000 kilometers away from the Earth, that is center of the Earth. She has also worked in the launches of the satellites, example GSAT 12, GSAT 10, and she was the first woman to become a satellite project director at ISRO. She had joined the space agency in the year 1982. This distinguished scientist, who has worked with ISRO for the past 34 years, first thought about space when she was 9. This famous scientist, distinguished here is she is famous, who has worked for ISRO for the past 34 years. She had worked, and since her childhood, when she was 9 years, she used to think about space. It was the Apollo launch when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. We had no television in those days. I heard about it from my parents and teachers. It really ignited the imagination. I wrote a poem on a man landing on the moon in Kannada, my native language, she says. The Apollo launch inspired her, and since there were no television sets in those days, she heard about it from her parents and teachers, and it made her imagination work. She also wrote a poem on a man landing on the moon in Kannada, which is her native language. Considered a role model by other women scientists at ISRO, Miss Anuradha disagrees that women and science do not gel. I never liked subjects where I needed to remember a lot. Many women consider her as a role model. She never liked subjects where she needed to remember a lot. and science looked logical to her. She didn't believe that Indian girls think science is not meant for them, and she thinks maths is their favorite subject. So in this paragraph, Anuradha tells that though she is considered by many women as their role model, she disagrees that women and science do not work together or do not go hand in hand. She never liked subjects where she needed to remember a lot, like history and the other subjects. And she thought science was logical, which made sense, which was valid. She didn't believe that Indian girls who think maths is their favorite subject, science is not meant for them. Science is not for them. They should think science is also meant for them. When she joined ISRO in 1982, there were only a few women on the staff and even fewer in its engineering department. In my batch of 5 or 6 women engineers joined ISRO. We stood out and everyone knew us. Today, more than 20 to 25% of ISRO's 16,000 employees are women, and we no longer feel special. She laughs. So here, when she joined ISRO in the year 1982, there were only a few women in the staff, and even very few were there in the engineering department. In her batch, there were 5 or 6 women engineers who had joined ISRO, and as there were very few engineers, women engineers, they were noticed easily by other people as they were few in number. Today, there are nearly 20 to 25% of the employees, of the 16,000 employees who are working are women, and they no longer feel special. And she laughs saying this, that there were only a few women. Now they have increased up to 20 to 25% among the 16,000 employees. That is why she feels happy. Miss Anuradha dismisses the suggestion that her colleagues consider her as an inspiration, but agrees that having more women in the workplace can be a motivating factor for other women. Once girls notice that there are lots of women in the space program, they will also get motivated. They'll think if she can do, so can we. So here she doesn't agree to the suggestion considered by other women, as they think her an inspiration. And she agrees that if they are having more women in the workplace, it's going to be a motivating factor. It will provide a cause, it will provide a reason for the other women to see that there are many women working in the space program centers. If the girls notice that there are lots of women in the space program, they will also get inspired by them, and they will think if she is doing, if she can do, so even we can do. Although the number of women staff has been growing steadily at ISRO, it is still way below the halfway mark. That's because we are still carrying cultural loads on our backs, and many women think their priorities lie elsewhere at home, she says. So here Anuradha says, though there are many women working in ISRO, the staff has been increased, but still it is not completely increased. It is half the way to still go, half the way mark. And the reason behind this is the women are carrying the cultural loads. We are still carrying cultural loads. Cultural loads here is the way language and culture is influenced by human beings. We are influenced by our cultures and languages. So that loads we are carrying, because of which we are not ready to join or work. And many women think that their importance is more at home than at work, she says. Miss Anuradha's advice to women who want to be rocket scientists is simple. Make arrangements. Once I had made up my mind that I needed a purposeful career where my passion lay, I created a good setup at home. My husband and my parents-in-law were always cooperative, so I didn't have to worry much about my children. So here, Anuradha's advice, she tells women that if you want to be a rocket scientist, you have to make arrangements, a comfortable atmosphere you should create. And she had also done it by making up her mind that she wanted a purposeful career. She wanted to achieve something in life where her interest was. She created a good setup at home, and she also had her husband and her parents-in-law who always cooperated with her, and so she didn't have to think much about her children. And she pays success to the arrangements she made. So here she gives or pays success. Her success was because of the arrangements which she had made. You have to give something to get something. That's life. So when there was work to do, when I was needed at the office, I was here working with passion. And when there was an absolute need for me to be at home, I was there. So here you have to give something to get something. That's life. And when there was work to do, when I was needed at the office, when she was needed at the office, she was there, working with interest and dedication. And when there was a need of her at home, a complete need for her at home, she was there, giving her time and dedication. When there was a need at home, she was there, giving her time and dedication to her family. Children, we now completed learning the lesson. What did we learn in this lesson? We learned about 3 Indian women scientists who, through their hard work, determination and patience, also intelligence, not only did they achieve their dream of successfully completing the Mangalyaan project, but also maintained a perfect work-life balance.